Hey everybody. So like I said, I'm going to try and structure my little bits that I put out there a little bit better. This is going to be like a story time type thing, and I had originally had this planned to be this long story that explains me, like where I come from, why I do what I do, and my motivations, all that. And I'm still going to do that, but it's like so much information to do it any justice that it has to be a series. Um, but ironically, there's a story behind how that concept came about, and so that's going to be my first story in my story time series. So the story is yesterday. I was talking to a friend of mine, and it's somebody that I respect. I bounce a lot of ideas off of when I talk about, spreading my message. Um, and he shot back with a comment that kind of took me off guard. He replied to the degree of, I'm rather annoyed with you that you're not putting out more content. And, most people in that situation, when someone says, I'm annoyed with you, their initial instinct is, oh, well, what problem do you have with me? They get defensive. And I have learned to slow my process down. And yes, I did feel that, FYI. This is an ongoing process. I've not mastered this skill yet, but I've learned to work on it. So after I get over the initial, offendedness, I take it at face value. Okay, I'm annoyed with you. What of my behavior is annoying you? And very clearly, he said the answer right there is you're not putting out. You're throwing all these ideas at me, and you're not sharing them the way you should. Is how I chose to read that. I think he's got a point. Like, I will procrastinate. It's one of the things I do. I get in my own way. I like to overcomplicate things. I'm guilty of the same issue that I point out to a lot of people. But I took it to heart. And it reminded me of, I've shared sometimes in my post, I have a picture of it. I keep it with me. It's actually in my personal Bible. This note that I got when I finished my time at the mental health place when I was going through the depression. And, the staff there, I'd written them this very eloquent goodbye, thank you letter for everything they had done for me, how much help they had given me. And they responded with a note. And part of this note at the end is keep spreading your message. Because I talk to a lot of people. And mind you, at that time, I was still developing the message that I'm sharing now. It's grown so much. But, it was that reminder, like, apparently I'm not going to say I have all the answers, because honestly, I don't. I know I don't. But I guess the way I think is differently, that most people, when they give me the time of day, I get them thinking. And that was the epiphany I came to earlier this evening. But before I get too far off track, right, I want to go back to, so my friend, again, put me back on track, said, hey, quit playing around, quit overcomplicating, quit making excuses, and do what you're supposed to be doing. So I told him, I was like, okay, thank you. Sincerely, thank you. You put me back where I need to be. And I said, well, I was actually getting ready to go to this event, and, but I will think about what you said, and tomorrow I'll get to work on it. That's today, by the way. That's what this video is. So I go to this event, and, it's funny how the universe speaks to us, how we get little messages if we pay attention. I go to this event, and I do have a decent time. I have a lot of social anxiety, and I'll talk more about that in one of these future story times. But, I was nervous about going to this event because there would be a lot of people, but I did okay. I did enjoy myself. I had a good time. As we're leaving, they have this gift for attending, for coming, and it wasn't just for the employees. That's what the event was for. It was in honor of employees. It wasn't just for the employees, it was for their plus ones, which was me. I was a plus one. And they give us this little box and they say, oh, here's, a gift for you. Thank you. So when we're done, I open this box and here is a stand for the phone and a ring light, which is attached to my phone right now, by the way. And I'm like, well, if that isn't a message that says, hey, where's your excuse? Now you have foldable, portable equipment. You can record anywhere. You don't have to have a certain setting. You don't have to have a certain way. What's your next excuse? So that's where we're at now. But essentially, this series, Storytime series, is designed to let people get to know me. Like, I don't expect anyone to take the things I say at face value. I want you to know where they're coming from. And in order to do that, you have to trust me. Well, in order for you to trust me, I have to be honest with you. So that's what this is. I do not like to draw attention to myself. I don't like to talk about myself a lot. I like to ask and get to know other people. But again, the flip side of that coin is, how do I expect people to be honest with me if I don't return the favor? So here we are. So, all this is going on, and I have this, new setup and, some things that help me out to do what I got to do. And then earlier tonight, I had this epiphany because I was thinking more on what my friend had said. And one of my hang-ups is, I always think, well, nobody's listening. So why should I, put forth the effort to do something that's not achieving my goal? And by him saying that to me, made me realize, well, at least somebody is listening. At least, for sure, there is one person I know out there that does care about what I have to, and gives credence to it. They don't necessarily have to agree with it, but it gets them thinking, and they enjoy that. And that is my goal. And that is my epiphany, is my ultimate goal is to take down the lies that have us living the way that we're living now. That's the summarized version of it. And I realized I don't necessarily have to get everybody to agree with me, with my point of view, with my decisions on what's a lie and what's not. All I have to get everybody to do is to think and agree that something isn't right, and to see through that a lie is actually a lie. And I've achieved my goal. My goal is to make people think enough to affect changes for the better. I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of looking over my shoulder. I'm tired of hearing about people suffering. And that is my motivation. I'm going to do this in a nutshell, and I'm going to let out my dark side just a little bit, just to give you guys a taste. And this is only a taste. But part of my depression, the way that I think as an individual, is I like to break things down. I actually developed this whole process, and I will share it, link in the down below. I'll figure out how. I'm not the greatest at this, but I'll do it. There is a way to find out what thoughts are really your thoughts. What is your core values? What makes you you? What's your unique belief? And what is a thought that is forced upon you? Something you don't necessarily... And this is something that, it blows my mind. Like, I realized this. I was telling another friend that I talk very deeply with, and we have all these, like, universe exploring conversations, and it's awesome. And I was telling them, I went to this event, and I'm surrounded by very intelligent and educated people. I, in no way, shape, or form, want to downplay anybody's intelligence. I'm not trying to say that I'm smarter than them, because I'm not. I'm not. I know that there are plenty of people out there that are way smarter than me. But the point is what is it you're giving your attention to think about? Like, did you fall into that trap of, okay, I'm going to focus on this. Meanwhile, this is going on in the background and no one's paying no mind. I think those thoughts. Like, okay, well, that's all well and good that we're all focused on this, and I support you in that. But in the meantime, somebody's got to be watching what's going on over there. And because of the way I think, apparently that's me, and I don't feel that I'm alone in this. I do believe there's more and more people, and there will continue to be more. Here's a great example. I just had a technical difficulty in that recording, and the old me would have said, "Oh, there's a sign. Don't put this video out," or, go to bed, because I am rather tired. That's why I'm like really rambling here. Well, that and my ADHD brain. But no, I decided to pick it up, and I do have the editing software. I'll put the two pieces together and make one full video. But back to my point that I was making is, there's a lot of people that don't even think to question things, but then at their core, it's these things that make them not feel right. Like, there's a lot of people in the world right now that are anxious, depressed, unhappy, but nobody's really diving deeper than surface level as to why. And I did that. And again, the way I think, I try to look at both sides of a coin. So some of the things that I thought about while I broke apart my depression, like, why do I feel the way I feel? And I thought, well, if I feel this way, how would somebody else feel in a similar situation, even if they had a different perspective? And I realized, like, just how deep, and this is the part where I'm going to get a little riled up, and I apologize. I try not to let my anger get the best of me, but this is one place where I fail greatly. In my explorations of, why I feel the way I feel and how it affects other people, I began to realize just how many systems that we are forced into that feed each other to make us feel this way. And I know that's a lot. Like, this is the reason that people, I think that most people don't think the thoughts that I think, because they're not ready to face the answers. I think subconsciously a lot of us know. I mean, consciously a lot of us know something ain't right now. But subconsciously a lot of us are coming to the same conclusion, or a similar conclusion to what I came to. And do I have evidence that, like, everything is orchestrated to work against each other? No. All I have is logic. That's how I think. And logically, the probability is, well, the facts are the systems work the way they work. But when you stop and you think about, okay, well, how does this system work in tandem with this system? And what are the results of that? What are the facts of that? And then once you get through the facts, you're like, okay, well, what do I agree with? Like, what do I think needs to change? And if I think it needs to change, why do I think it needs to change? And how should it change? And see, this is where I struggle with as an individual. I do not have the answers. But if I can get all of us thinking together, somebody out there who is smarter than me does have the answer, and they will raise their voice and chime in, and we could put a lot of stuff to bed. Everybody's milling around waiting for somebody to come save them. Guess what? You're it. You are it. I'm not it. Anybody else around is not it. You are the only one that can save you from whatever is plaguing you right now. The great thing is even though it is a journey of the self, you don't have to do it completely alone. It is possible, some people can help guide through that. And I like to believe that I'm meant to be one of those people, but I honestly, I don't know. All I can do is the best I can do. But again, it's my friend who put me in line that makes me think, okay, maybe something I'm saying is making sense, and so I'll continue to do it. But going back to, because again, I'm very, very, I'm tap dancing, and I'm doing it on purpose because I don't like to get agitated. I don't like to get angry. But whenever I talk about this, I cannot help but get agitated and angry. So when you realize, something's not right, and you look at all these systems and how they work together, and you start thinking logically, like, okay, on paper this looks good, but in practice, it's having the opposite effect of what it should have. Why is that? And you dive deeper and deeper, and you realize that a lot of it based on things that we learn at a young age that are not our core beliefs. They do not sit well with us. We just accept them because we learned them young, and we were taught at that time to not question them. And then we're forced into this agreement with something we clearly don't agree with. And that's what got us where we are now. And it's okay. If you're a victim of this. But I'll get to that in a minute. First, I want you to understand my motivation and just how passionate I am about this motivation. Is when I realized how these systems work together, I thought about all the human suffering over the ages that are because of these individuals that put these things into place. And again, I don't have a lot of people say the cabal, the elite, the 1%. I don't know. I don't have evidence. But logic dictates that someone is putting these pieces together, and we're being forced into this. Well, guess what? Some people are waking up, and we don't want to do it anymore. And again, this is my motivation. How many people have been a victim of violence needlessly because somebody pointed somebody else at them like a weapon and pushed them to pull that trigger? Right? Last census said there's over 8 billion people on this planet, and we've been running like this, for a while. I mean, not those numbers, but this planet's been spinning for a while. How many people have died because they didn't get something that they needed for a nonsensical reason? How many people have gone to bed at night terrified or absolutely just with no will for themselves because of these systems? And it pisses me off. If you think back, how many people, why are we not, right? We have resources on this planet that we could be in a lot better shape than we are, and we don't. Why? I can speculate. But again, back to my point of, you don't have to agree with my conclusion. You just have to agree that something ain't right and something has to change. And then we have to come together and affect that change. But I really want you to think about that. Like, really, really. Look back in history. How many horrific stories, how many monumental things, from either the great big wars down to the individual little, mystery stories that you hear about. Somebody getting hurt or something going wrong. And when you look at the big picture, it's for no real reason. And it's time to fight back. I will accept suffering if there is purpose. If there is a good purpose. Let me correct myself, because again, language does matter. The language you think in is the language you live in. I really need people to understand that too. And again, that whole link that I'm going to put down here kind of touches on that a lot too. just not in the way that I've learned to express it now. Um, but I really want you to think about that. How many people have been miserable for no good reason? Somebody wants wealth, they want power, they want control, whatever, and all these systems get put in place. I keep saying my mantra that I say, every time I make a post is take accountability, take your power back, influence things for the good, and quit letting discomfort be your comfort zone. We have all just, and that was the observation I made at this event, is all these intelligent people, and nobody stops to think, well, if I'm not feeling, things are right, why don't I think about that a little deeper? And even when I do think, why do certain things only go to certain, like just the surface level? Why can I not get deeper? That's because we were trained not to. And this is me cycling back to my other important point, okay? If what I'm saying to you makes sense, right? If you're sitting there and you are reflecting, before you even do that, I need to give you this advice, okay? If you find a flaw, because again, this is the reason I think a lot of people don't deeply reflect on themselves, is because they're afraid of what they're going to find. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Because guess what? If you don't like what you find, that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't. What makes you a bad person is if you don't like what you find and you continue that way. A lot of people mistake ignorance for maliciousness. And it's got a lot of people angry at each other. And again, it's all boils down to a misunderstanding. And people have lost the will to communicate with one another, to see each other's side of a point, to really think, how widespread some of these effects are. We need to do that. That's what I'm doing here. That's what I want to do with all of you. So, this thing is rambled on. Again, this was not a scripted. This was just, I spent all day thinking about, what I wanted to convey in this first type of this video. I'm going to try and put out some more stuff. I got a couple people now kind of kicking me in the butt saying, get your stuff together. So I'm doing it. So please, just give some of the things I'm saying some thought. Please, not because, and again, I'm not trying to get monetized, which I'm not against that. It's not about the attention on me, but I would love to hear some people chime in and share your thoughts. Because that's how we are going to fix things. That's how we're going to overcome things, is by us coming together and finding a way to have a real solution. I don't want to shift the problem. I don't want to point it at somebody else. I want to get rid of it for good. And from my reckoning, this is the only way to do that. So that's, in a nutshell, folks, that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm doing it. So I invite you, come along with me on this journey. Let's trade notes. And that's about it. Y'all take care. See you in the next one.